while ramming this G sword to death. It's actually quite funny. Hello guys and welcome back to the channel once again. And today we are going to be taking a look at
the best premium tanks
for the next year 2022. So stay tuned. The first premium tank that we are going to be taking a look at is going to be the SKODA T56. Now this tank has been released quite recently, I would say. It is the absolute damage dealing powerhouse of tier 8 heavy tanks. Now this tank has 2 shots in a clip, 130mm caliber, 460 alpha damage on each of those shots, which means that you're going to be doing 920 damage on average just under 3.5 seconds, which is the intro reload clip of this tank. Now it has 208 penetration on the normal AP rounds. It has a premium AP round which has 248. That enables you to actually penetrate all those tier 9 and possibly tier 10 tanks that you're going to meet from the front and from the side with those little weak spots. And it also has really good HE, 640. Now imagine you have intuition and you load this kind of HE shot and you find like a gorilla or a scorpion G or whatever. You can basically just do 1280 damage on average with those 2 HE shots in case you are penetrating both. Now the TD tank gets spotted here. You can already see that this alpha damage is absolutely monstrous, like 475 on the first shot there. And this replay is from Legend Carl and is actually playing with a lot of AP shells, normal AP shells, and only 12 premium rounds. Actually very respectable, because those normal AP shells are not going to be penetrating that reliably on more heavy armor tanks because of the lack of pen. Of course 208 pen is not that much, as you can see. Actually bounces the T10 side, but puts a big shot into him. Now this tank can be very much complemented with the use of turbo and the turbo slot. It will make it go up to 40 kilometers an hour, which is really good. And I think this is the biggest problem of this tank, that it's very slow and sluggish without the use of turbo. Now you can also use HP, as you can see Legend Carl is doing. You can use IAU on it, you can use vents on it, and of course verse tabs is completely essential. Now the absolute monstrous damage output of this tank is just putting it up to, for me, onto the top number 1 spot on the premium tanks list. And while the gun is not that reliable, as you can see, a lot of misses come in with full aim shots and all that, it's really going to put that that damage in there once you actually hit and penetrate those shots. This tank's armor model is actually not that bad. You can actually side script it quite well, and as you can see in a second, the absolute damage output of this tank is just insane. Look at the IS-3's HP. 1, 480 damage, and 2, that's just 1000 damage in 3.5 seconds on the IS-3. 66% of his HP is gone, and just from those 2 shots. And you can even maybe high roll for the next shot, and you can basically just 3-shot an enemy IS-3 with this tank. And I mean, that's absolutely broken in my opinion. This is probably one of the most broken tanks in the game actually, along with the tier 10 VZ55 counterpart. And you can see the Scorpion G peaks, but he's not gonna live very long here actually. So yeah, this is probably one of the best tier 8 heavy tanks out there, next to the Carnarvon probably, and possibly the best tier 8 heavy tank that is a premium and actually makes you credits. Now it is going to make you a lot of credits in case you're shooting these normal rounds and you're penetrating them all the time, but you also need to use Bukti, which is the food consumable for the Czech tanks, because you want to maximize the kind of increasing the gun stats. You know, you can see that this absolute damage output, 4k damage in less than 4 minutes, guys. This is just so good. And I'm going to speed the replay up a little bit here because there's not much happening, but we can find the T30 here and we can actually shoot him in the side. And this tank is, I think it's very controversial, like how Wargaming treats these new premium tanks that they implement. Like, this tank just completely shits on all the other tier 8 counterparts it has if it's being let like a free space. As you can see, he did not use any premium rounds and already have 4.4k damage, and now about to find the sharpshooter from the back for a juicy clip here of 2 shots. And let's see how much damage it can actually do on the Char Futur here. He looks like he's clipping on some target at a longer distance. He doesn't realize what's gonna happen here. And 521 guys. And another one. Just look at this. This damage output is just absolutely insane. And there are people that actually did like 4.5k damage on this tank on average. Now just imagine a tier 8 tank with 4.5k average damage. That is just absolutely breathtaking in my opinion. And you can see, actually find the Scorpion and the RHM, and he quickly, I believe, is going to take a big shot on the list here. An unfortunate low roll, and a second one there for 441. Even though the low roll came in, 800 damage with those 2 shots, putting him up to 6.2k damage in a tier 9 matchup, just under 6 minutes. I mean, that's just really brutal in my opinion. And now you can see that Lejeune Carl is actually loading HE rounds. I'm going to try to take advantage of that high alpha. And let's look at the roll on the RHM. 6,300. It just blew my mind so hard I couldn't even count. 633 of course. But man, 7k damage in less than 6 minutes, guys, in a tier 8 tank. I mean, guys, you decide for yourself, but this is absolutely brutal. And actually put one more into the E50 in the end here. Next tank on the list is the BURASK, of course, the tier 8 French premium medium tank, which has another 2-shot autoloader for, I believe, 360 damage on average, with 190mm pen on the first APCR, the normal APCR, and 240 penetration on the premium APCR. Now, this tank has a notoriously good fame in World of Tanks because it is so powerful. Like, basically, you put 720 damage on a gun which unloads under 2 seconds at the enemy tanks at a really good kind of vertical stabilization that it has, but it also has really bad aiming time, so you kind of have to maximize those stats out with using the correct equipment. Now you can use optics, but you can also use full shooting vents, IRM, IAU, and also of course you always need to use verse stabs because of the gun handling that I mentioned. Now you can see the Poodle just basically got vaporized by 2 shots for 620, and the relatively short reload on those 2 shells actually enabled this tank to do a lot of damage, guys. And you can see that Ivan here in the replay doesn't even use baguette. I don't know, I think it's coffee I think it's called on the French tanks. But you can see, find the other BURASK, and we put 785 damage, we tracked him, the type gets spotted, gives us a shot in the back. But yeah, like it's just absolutely brutal, man, this tank. And basically you can also use this tank because it has really good camo values. Of course, literally no armor, but it has really good camo values. You can also use it as a kind of scout in case your enemy doesn't have a scout, or your scout is not doing his job very well. You can actually just use this as a scout, a damage dealing scout. As you can see, the type is just getting completely obliterated here, and the E25 actually gets spotted. And you can see that the Oni and the Tiger are actually both pushing, and the King Tiger C does not really seem to have the control, the situation under control here. And this is actually quite a risky maneuver from Ivan, but actually, luckily he survives. This tank is really good, and possibly one of the most broken tanks at tier 8 in general. Actually, interesting thing how the only tank that you can say is really broken at tier 8, this is not a premium tank, is probably the Carnarvon. I can't really think of anything other at the moment that is like really outstanding. The only problem with this tank is the APCR penetration of this is 190, which is very lackluster in my opinion against tier 8, tier 9 plus. But you have 240mm APCR premium shots, which are really good actually, with 1250 velocity, which is not bad. But yeah, I mentioned the stabilization of this tank. The stabilization of this tank is actually not that bad as it looks on paper. The more problematic thing about it is the aiming time is rather long, and you can see that Ivan will find a position here. And the tank is actually fairly accurate, by the way. Like, it's actually fairly accurate, even though it doesn't say on paper. It doesn't really behave like a French gun when I played it. You have those really annoying misses, but most of the time you're actually going to connect even at longer distances. As you can see, we actually connected both shots on the VK. Even though it was a weakly armored target, we didn't need to snipe his weak spots. But the accuracy was good enough to actually hit him twice there and make him pay for his actions. Now, Ivan is actually staying here, as you can see. If you use optics on this tank, which he doesn't at the moment, I believe, he's just using full shooting. You can outspot your enemies before they will even see you because of the outstanding camo value of this tank. And you can actually take advantage of those situations and in a lot of times surprise your enemies. And also, as I mentioned, because of the mobility, in the early game you can go into positions where you can spot other tanks trying to get into their starting positions, and you can just surprise them with a 2-shot clip for 720 damage. Now, this match is actually getting into a comfortable situation for Ivan's team. And I believe he is going to kind of stay here on the base and try to protect his cap by possibly sniping the Yak Panther, the Oni, and the heavy tank number 6, the Japanese Tiger that is pushing down. Now, the Oni actually gets spotted, as you can see. He knows that... well, he doesn't really know, he doesn't really care that he got spotted, probably doesn't even have sixth sense at this point, but the Yak Panther gets spotted here, and you can see one shot put into him, and a second one just completely annihilates it. Just like the SKODA, guys, this tank is really a brutal powerhouse in the clipping department and the autoloader department, because you just have so much potential damage with those huge clips. And you can see that the E44 is actually pushing towards the T52 here, and he is going to make his way back and help his teammate out and kill him now. Picks up his 5th kill. We already have 3.8 thousand damage, guys. That is really good. And now he opts to load those premium shells because he's going to be facing the AMX M4 and the Oni. Now, the Oni actually shoots there, and this is a really good opportunity for Ivan to actually pick him up. As you can see, this tank doesn't really have any HP, it doesn't have any armor, so you need the enemy to make the first mistake and shoot, because if you take a lot of shots, as you can see in the beginning of this replay where he took a lot of shots, it wasn't that many, but he was already down to low HP, and you can see the AMX is actually on 7 HP. The enemy has around 2.2k HP. Now we're not sure how much HP the Scorpion G and the Moots has. The Moots is a 3-shot for him, and actually connects on the move. As you can see, the stabilization actually working out for him there. And the Scorpion G can also be a kind of an issue, because of course he's a one-shot towards the AMX and the Scorpion G, but it's not really a one-shot towards the Moots, unless the Moots pens some HE on him. And now he's asking for his teammate to actually help. He kept onto that one shell because he wanted Artie to hit him once. I think here is that was a little bit of an unlucky shot there, and he actually takes a shot from the Moots, putting him to a absolute one-shot. And now the quick reload of this tank really enables you to stay in battle. Now, a lot of autoloaders like say the Batchat or say the AMX 5120 with these kind of long autoloading clips, they can't really stay in the battle. But this tank doesn't need to run. I mean, in this case he couldn't even run even if he wanted to, but if he would have been pushed in the last 5 seconds, for example, he could have basically defended himself. And that's a really good thing for autoloading tanks. Because if you can't defend yourself and you have no teammates, well, then of course bad stuff is going to happen. Now, you can see this Moots makes a big mistake, and the Scorpion also just underestimates him, and because of the 2-second intro reload of the tank, he can just pick them up in quick succession, the Scorpion G and the Moots, and now he has 8 kills, 5k damage, and now he has the AMX to deal with now. The AMX is 7 HP, but he has the whole map to actually play and kite him around. He can use the camo of this tank and the really good mobility to get around and wait for the enemy AMX to make a mistake. Now you can see he's staying in this bush, hoping that the AMX would make a mistake and push, but I'm just going to spare you guys the time and speed this replay up. He heads into the enemy cap, finds a conveniently knocked down tree or bush, I'm not sure what it is, and now waits for the AMX to actually come back and crawl back to the base to try and reset and win the game for his team. Now the AMX actually gets spotted, and he of course doesn't spot Ivan because he's in a really good position here, and he needs to get up really close now here. And this is going to be a quite hard shot, but as you can see, the accuracy is there. And that was a really, really risky shot, and that could have bounced, but the accuracy delivers once again, and he actually picks up the MX. 9 kills, 5k damage. Next tank is going to be my personal favorite, guys, the E75 TS. Now, this tank is quite controversial. Not many people actually like it, because they say, oh my god, it has no armor, oh my god, the gun handling is very bad, you know. But honestly, this tank is all about the mobility, the combination of the gun, and the combination of the side-scraping abilities that this tank actually has. But this mobility that it has, and I'm actually complimenting it with turbo here, is really, really, really good. As you can see, I'm getting up to 47, 48, 49, 50, 51 kilometers an hour with turbo here on Ruinberg. And 51 kilometers with turbo, guys, at tier 8 for a heavy tank with this kind of gun. It is a 360 alpha gun with around 8 seconds reload time, and the APCR is absolutely brutal. It's like 282 millimeters of penetration with almost 1400 meters per second velocity, which is really good. But you also have 227 on the AP shells, so you can make a lot of credits with this tank, and not just be a gold spammer like myself. This was just a game that I recorded while streaming, and I thought I would show it to you guys. The tank has a lot of weak spots on the turret, mainly the cupola here, and also the cheeks here are very, very weak. But if you actually manage to rotate the tank well and turn the turret and angle it all the time against enemy tanks, and try to hide the cupola behind the cover, then you can actually avoid getting hit. And the gun handling is not the best. That is the biggest downside of this tank, in my opinion. The gun handling is really not the greatest, and that's why you're going to be missing a lot of shots. The stabilization is not the best, and the aiming time is also not that great either. But the 360 alpha damage with 8 seconds is really, really good at close range, because you're going to be connecting most of your shots at close range, especially if you're playing against high tiered opponents, tier 9, tier 10. You're also going to be penetrating them because of the use of APCR rounds, which are really, really good. And at the ISU decided it's going to be a good idea to just go in front of me. I mean, I don't mind, because it's just going to give me a shield on my lower plate. Now, yeah, the second thing that's really weak on this tank is the lower plate is absolute paper, and the upper plate is also not that great against higher tiers. Higher tier tanks are going to be penetrating your upper plate quite a lot, and also your lower plate is very, very weak. I think there are some tanks that you can even penetrate with HE. And also the tank is, as you can see, it's very, very big. It's very hard to hide it. It's very easy to track. But this mobility, guys, is really, really good, and honestly, it has grown very close to my heart, and I really love it. Just because the mobility reminds me of the E50, even though the E50 now kind of got irrelevant at tier 9 because of the lack of penetration against those highly armored tanks. It still reminds me of that playstyle, because the tank is really fast, really mobile, and you can also have the same playstyle of like angling your tank and side scraping and all that. As you can see, the alpha damage is kind of not getting really high rolled here, as I'm doing a lot of 320, 340 alpha damage, but plus 400 rolls are also not that rare on this tank. And you can see the RHM actually gets spotted there. We already bounced the shot here, and we can't connect. This defender gets a little bit lucky there. But the RHM peaks now, and actually try to shoot him. He bounces us with the high alpha gun, the 750 gun. Actually, as you can see, I'm giving him a perfect side angle. And I'm trying to now make it a little bit close, maybe to shoot the defender or the RHM. Now, the HE penetration of this tank is 60, and it is really fast HE. It's actually 440, as you can see, the alpha damage, and also 1100 meters per second. Now, this 54, I was just trying to push a little bit in, so I'm not gonna take a shot, but I'm not gonna block him, guys. Don't worry. And I should have already killed this RHM, but he got really lucky there, actually. And I see that the RHM also pushes up behind me, so I'm not trying to go in and not block my friends. But honestly, guys, this mobility and also the reverse speed. The reverse speed is a very important aspect of heavy tanks, in my opinion. A lot of people actually overlook this, but the reverse speed of tanks is really important, because it makes you able to disengage from situations that you no longer want to be in now. This tank, equipped with turbo, has a really, really healthy reverse speed, and as you can see, with use of gold rounds, we're actually just going through the VKs, the turret right there, and this is probably perfect angling here, because this little rubble here just shields my lower plate, and you can't see it, and you can only see my upper plate. This tank also has some kind of side skirts against heat shells, as you can see. It actually kind of works, especially if you're side scraping. They're not really going to be panning your sides with heat. That is probably good for higher tier targets. And this game is just pretty much a complete roll from our side, even though the HP is quite close. It's 9-4, 10-4 now, and they don't really have any chance against us. And you can see, I didn't even lose a single hit point. We blocked 3.3k damage, guys. The tank really has armor, and don't believe what the naysayers say, guys. This tank has no armor. You just need to angle it very, very well. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to angle this tank well, but once you actually master it and you learn how to do it, then you can actually do a lot of damage. Also, I forgot to mention about the ramming aspect of this tank. Now, this tank is huge. It weighs a lot of tons, and also has a really good engine power and a fairly okay front. Now you can see that I'm driving here 25-26 kilometers an hour, and I'm running this guy for 200 damage here, and I'm actually going to pick up the kill while ramming this G sword to death. It's actually quite funny. But once you like find the tank that is like full speed, and you're going like full speed at him, and you find his side or back or whatever, you're going to be doing a lot of damage, guys. We have gotten to the Italian beast, the Projecto 46 Tier 8 Italian premium medium tank. And this tank has a 3-shot autoloader with a very interesting mechanic. Now, you have 3 shots in the clip, but you don't, if you basically just shoot once, it's going to reload automatically that one shot that you actually shot. So it's kind of like a cycling auto-loading clip that you don't need to like shoot all those 3 shots, because the gun actually auto-loads itself back in, and you can see that the absolute damage output is just really good. 720, man, and you guys can see that the even 90, the EBR's HP just completely gets vaporized by the clip, and he's dead basically. 1000 damage under 1 minute, guys, already killing the enemy EBR. Now, this tank has a really good mobility. It has a really good gun handling. It has a really good pan on both shells. It also has very good HP at 1400 HP, which is really good. Doesn't really have any armor, but the HP actually counteracts this very well, and it's very easy to hit weak spots with this gun, because as you can see, it's really accurate. Now the basic pen is 212, which is quite okay in my opinion, and the APCR is 259, which is really good. Also, it's quite fast as well. I'm also playing with one clip of HE, which is 320. Now, if you shoot like an RHM or a Scorpion G with 3 shots of HE, that is going to be 960 damage, which is really good in case you pan all of those 3 shells. Now, this tank is arguably the best tier 8 tank, along with the BURASK and all the other tanks that are in this video, but it's probably the most reliable out of all those tanks, because this tank just unleashes its clip. It connects the clip, and it just does so much damage because of the potential in the clip actually. So yeah, the thing I mentioned about this is it's a cycling autoloader. Now you have different loading times. I'm sure most of you are actually familiar with this mechanic, but it's a mechanic unique to the Italian vehicles as of now. There may be some newer tanks in the future that will have the kind of same mechanic, like the Object 590 that I covered in the other Christmas boxes video. But basically you have 3 shots in the clip, and the consequential reload time gets longer and longer when you're approaching that last shot. So it's very small reload for the first shot, in case you have 2 shots left in the clip, and it's going to be quite lengthy for the last shot in case you shoot the first 2, which I actually only recommend doing. I only recommend shooting the last shot unless you are 100% sure you're going to pan it or you need to kill someone. Because if you shoot the first 2, you still have really good DPM, because it doesn't take that long. 7-8 seconds reload for loading the second shot, and another 6 seconds for loading the first one. But as you can see, also the accuracy is really good. I'm just connected on the ISU right here, already 2.6k damage. But if you shoot the last one, then your reload is going to get messed up, and that is going to be annoying. Now, here's a little bit of a unlucky clip here. Actually, I thought I could pen him in the track right there, and the second shot was a complete miss for my part, unfortunately. We also make mistakes, Unicorn gamers. And yeah, this tank is really good now. I lost all my HP because of that peak, unfortunately, and it doesn't really matter because you have 1400, and it's a lot of potential damage that you can actually take on this tank. And also, I mentioned that back in the day, this tank used to be able to mount a rammer. I'm playing this tank with turbo vents and vert stabs, and back in the day, you could actually mount a rammer on this tank for some reason, but they actually took that option away, and they instead buffed the reload of this tank. So now you can play with either optics next to vents and V-stabs, or you can also play with turbo. In this case, when you have both view range skills on the commander, and you're also running spaghetti with meat sauce as the consumable, you can actually afford to mount a turbo or optics. Depending on if you don't have the commander crew skills, you can actually put on optics, so you have actually good view range. But if you have the commander crew skills, those two, and you're also playing with food, then you're going to be having enough view range for tier 8 and tier 9 and tier 10 to actually outspot your opponents at longer distances. Now, actually, you can see the Projecto, enemy Projecto is actually there, but we don't connect here, unfortunately. And I'm actually peeking really aggressively here because I know all their tanks' positions, and nobody can really shoot me here. But this game will be a little bit interesting here in a short while. Now it has been very stale here, and I'm going to show you guys just the average raw power of this this gun and the absolute monstrosity it is. Now you can see the first shell unfortunately goes into the track of the IS-6, but we connect the... Ooh, he gets a lucky snapshot on us, but we connect the two shots for 480 damage. We already have 3k damage now. This tank is very comfortable to play. Actually, this is a thing that I was mentioning in my previous videos, like my older videos, that when a tank is comfortable, it becomes a joy to play. And now what I mean by comfortable, I mean the overall gun handling, the mobility, the amount of HP you have or armor you have. Basically, the amount of HP or armor you have end up giving you more room for mistakes that you can make. As you can see, I still have 61 HP, but there's a lot of damage that I can do, and I came to help this this ISM here, and I'm actually finishing the IS-6 here. That's really good. Now it's 8-7. So yeah, this tank is very comfortable because you're going to be hitting most of your shots. You're going to be penetrating most of your shots, and you're going to be getting into those positions early on because of the mobility. Plus, you also have a shit ton of HP, which you can actually use to once again mitigate your mistakes that you might do. And a lot of times you can also double track people, because if there's a 2-second reload between the clips, there's a 2-second intro clip reload, you can actually double track a lot of tanks, and you can unleash your full DPM. You don't even need to shoot the third one. You just double track someone, and then you wait for the reload of the first shot, and you actually just keep him in place, and he cannot even do anything because your DPM is actually good enough to keep him double tracked once you have made sure that he does not have a repair kit anymore. And here I was like kind of contemplating whether I should go away or should stay with the Alpine Tiger. I knew he was going to be able to shoot me if I go across this trench again, and I need him to go back actually, but now he actually pulls back a little bit, and I might have a chance to actually run. I'm not sure what my team is doing. I'm not sure why they didn't push the Uisu yet on the other side. That's a really big mistake actually. But now I'm just going to use my mobility and keep this bush behind me and try to get away from the Alpine Tiger without being spotted. Now, as you can see, it doesn't peek and the timing is good, and also I have bushes behind me which prevent him from spotting me. Now, my objective here is to go towards the two Isus on the 1-2 line, because this tank is very good against, once again, I said, it has very good mobility, and it has really good DPM, it has really good tracking power, so you might want to get behind those turretless TDs actually, and use all those advantages to gain the upper hand in the situation. And going to slowly make my way towards the friendly Alpine Tiger in the hopes of finding the enemy Isus. Now, I actually get spotted. It was by the Isu that was behind the cover actually. As you can see, he just pushes and doesn't really care. I think he doesn't know that the Alpine Tiger is there, but actually now he spots him and turns for him, and you can see that I'm just turning for him instantly. 1, other Isu gets spotted, 2, and 3. Like that quick succession of shells is just so good, and this is what this tank is all about, honestly. As you can see, even my third shot didn't take that long to actually reload. and it only takes 8 seconds. So even then, this tank is reloading really fast, all those shots. So it takes 8 seconds, the third one, then it takes 6 seconds because of the adrenaline rush, the other two, which is ending up in a really good versatility and really good flexibility overall. And now on this replay, there's not much going to be happening here. I'll make a mistake because I'm going to be impatient, and I also didn't expect the Alpine Tiger to be back here, as I want to flank on the 1-2 line, but I actually make a mistake here, and I thought I could outplay him, but here going to end up getting picked up by the even 90, who has been in the middle of the map. Unfortunate, guys. Next tank, E5 of tier 8, basically, because it looks like the E5, it behaves like the E5 exactly. So you have a huge cupola, which is obviously a weak spot. You have a huge lower plate, which is also a weak spot. You have a troll upper plate, which can make bounces, and you can also quite side script pretty well because of the tracks that are really thick, as you can see. The tank has really good DPM. It has okay penetration values. So I think on the AP you have 226, which is quite good. It's also quite fast, at 1080 meters per second. And you have 255 on the APCR, which is actually not that much more, but it's also going to be quite fast, almost at 1400 meters per second. Now the tank has 360 alpha damage, 1500 HP, which can be boosted up with the extra use of HP booster, for example, if you want to do that. But I actually feel like maximizing the kind of reload is probably the best choice you can actually make, because you can get around 7-8 seconds reload time for 360, which is really good at tier 8. And I actually really like this tank. I'm looking forward to playing it more and getting it on one of my non-press accounts and actually trying to mark it. And we take a shot here from the Projecto. The side profile is quite huge. You don't really have any armor, as the E5 doesn't have either. And you can see that the 110 gets spotted now. One thing that you have to do a lot on this tank and also on the E5 is you have to angle your turret all the time against your cupola. So you have to make sure that the enemy is not gonna hit your cupola. You see I'm like putting the cupola behind foliage here, but it's gonna connect to my lower plate here with the 110, unfortunately, but he's going to go down towards my Projecto. Nice one, first kill. STA1 gets spotted, Emil gets spotted. We put a big shot into the STA1 right there, and looks like the Emil is going to try to get some of our steel into him, and pushes us quite interestingly here. As you can see, I'm trying to get some cover, but I think he's going to connect here when he overpeaks and ammo wreck me. Yeah, as you can see, we put him on track, and because of our really good reload, I can just double track him right there, and he's not gonna be able to run away at all now. This tank is also fairly mobile. It goes like 42, 40, 43 kilometers an hour, I believe, and it's actually fairly good in acceleration. Once again, you can complement that with the use of turbo if you would like to, but I feel like the only weak spot of this tank is the somewhat unreliable gun accuracy. I feel like the gun accuracy, and you will see a little bit later in the replay that the gun accuracy is not the best, and you're going to be having those really nerve-wracking misses that unfortunately do occur on this tank. And now, as you can see, the team is looking like they are winning the D line, and also the J line is kind of being lost because of the sheer amount of enemy heavy tanks they have there. And we also have an IS-22 that is defending the base with our ISU, but as you can see now, we're kind of losing down the J line and waiting for this STA1 to actually peek and see what happens. But he didn't peek, so I decided I'm gonna go for the Projecto. And here is where you guys can see that this gun is just not going to be hitting all the time. First shot, easy, right? Goes in, 370, good roll. The Projecto was on 3 shots of HP. And second shot, I'm aiming for the weak spot again. Shot goes left. I think he penned me, I think he penned me in the cupola, just a little bit below it. I wasn't angling enough. And now we have to push him fully. But we already have 2.6k damage, guys, and I'm not trying to downgrade this tank. This tank is absolutely great, honestly. Once again, really good DPM, really good mobility. It has a lot of HP, and also you have like a really good combination of these strings. But the only bad side about this, and a lot of people have been telling me not to sugarcoat some tanks, and this is what I'm trying to do now. Actually, you can see that these bounces are actually quite unlucky. The last one was bad lane, but the ones before that were just really unlucky, and the Lorraine actually gets spotted, and once again the alpha damage comes into play. We actually managed to pick him up with a 390 roll shot, And I'm gonna pick up the Projecto now too, and now I'm gonna have to get into safety because the enemy tanks have completely obliterated our 1-2 line flank, and now I'm going to try to get ready behind this rock here to try and shoot those. 403 once again, that's a really good roll. And you can see how I'm trying to like hide my cupola behind the yeah, once again, the gun just trolls. The gun just trolled again. And honestly, this tank is like a 50-meter tank. At 50 meters, you're gonna hit most of those shots, as you can see, and roll the shit out of those shots, and like 398, 400, and all that big juicy shots. And that shot should have also connected. You see, 4k damage already, guys. This tank is great, but that is gonna make you mold a little bit, man, those shots. And now I'm gonna get pushed, and I think this is going to be my last shot as the BURASK unfortunately picks us up. 4.3k damage in about 5 minutes, 3 kills. Pretty good, man. I really recommend this tank once again because I think this is the clone of the E5, and the E5 is a great tank. If you can hide the cupola and if you can side script of tanks and cover, it's going to be a really good friend of yours in the credit making department. Because as I said, the AP shells have like around 220 plus span, which is going to be really good for shooting tanks at close range. Against tier 9, tier 10, you're going to be needing a little bit more. Then you have the APCR. But yeah, guys, definitely recommend this tank. Guys, thank you so much for watching the video once again. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I gave a little bit of insight for the newcomers that don't really know what premium tank to buy. I am planning to make a second episode of this. If you reach 500 likes, I'm going to be making another best premium tank episode about all the tanks that I left out. I just didn't want to make this video too long, and there's so many more candidates that I can put into another video. So guys, 500 likes is the goal for the second part of this video series. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Please